When we measure performance, it's so we can improve. Sports teams and their fans do this obsessively. Our operations colleagues are all over their data and performance, and finance keeps us all in check. Yet, many organisations measure customer experience without taking action to change our customers' perceptions, their actions, and their impact on business performance. To use an old phrase, you don't fatten the pig by weighing it. Today, I'm going to talk about change. The changes needed to improve business performance, and they come in two flavours. The business projects that change customer interactions with our products, services, and touchpoints. The projects that deliver business value from customer experience. And a much more pressing, important change, the repositioning of customer experience professionals from observers to influencers. So your work inspires colleagues to take action through business projects. This is vital because insights alone don't create value, action does. I'm Michelle Spall, a customer experience management consultant. I help organisations use customer insights to improve business performance. For many people in customer experience, the data is the fun bit. We love gathering, analysing and reporting. But today I will show you why you need to embrace a wider role, and will show why you don't need authority to inspire change. And then we'll get into the good stuff, how to make the practical shift from reporting to action. All too often, organisations recruit people, give them a title with insight, voice of the customer, journey management in it, and sit back. The organisation waits for reports, and the customer experience professionals oblige. And next month or next quarter, you follow the same process and report the same issues. Today, I want to challenge the scope of this activity. If you leave with nothing else today, please take away these 3 points. Insight is not value. Change delivers value. Improved business outcomes are the value. If your insights do not influence the way your organisation serves and interacts with customers, if they have no impact on the business outcomes leaders care about, if your reports are a box-ticking exercise where human value is invisible, then your job is at risk of automation. And bizarrely, good IT leaders will push back on automating reports that are not used because they care about the cost and complexity of systems. So only you, with your understanding of customers, can change how the organisation responds to customer feedback. Only you can determine whether it's filed or turned into better outcomes for customers and the business. If your reports go into a black box, you have the opportunity to reposition your work so it directly contributes to business performance, making your work both visible and valued. We've seen other disciplines reposition in very similar ways. Accountants became finance managers, sales directors became revenue officers. Operations, well, it stayed as operations, but it repositioned from being the dusty bit of every organisation into its beating heart. What is the repositioning you need? Try some of these out because I'd like you to change from being data gurus to being business advisors, from insight reporters to influencers, from passive observers to movers and shakers, from the person who tells people what customer thinks to the people who are asked what customers need. That means moving from being the expert behind the report to inspiring action. And that is a big change. It feels scary, but if your work doesn't change business performance, it will be ignored. And over time, so will your role. The risks associated with repositioning are real, but at the same time manageable. Stepping outside your established role exposes what you do today. You may be ignored, challenged, or blamed if it doesn't work. Once more, you have no authority. When I worked at Rolls-Royce, my boss, the VP of Customer Business, said to me, "Michelle, you have to influence, but you have no authority. That is hard. It is harder than influencing with authority." And he was right. But it was also wrong. I had a small team with many operational accountabilities, but I encouraged them to get to know their colleagues and to work out how we could help. It turned out there was no end of opportunities. We grabbed the exposure with both hands and made it work for us, our colleagues, and the business. If you're not already inspiring change, you have a choice. Carry on as you are today, or take a simple step to reposition your role and how you and your team are perceived. This is not a question of taking on responsibilities or, in fact, much extra work. It is about finding out how to work with the organisation, existing structures and existing goals to improve customer experience and business performance. Or to put it another way, your responsibility is to influence, not to own delivery. And that approach will protect your reputation while improving the odds that your colleagues will initiate changes in the products, services and touchpoints customers don't like. But how does it work in practice? At the highest level, repositioning starts when you find one or two individuals you can help and work with them to deliver business value. Then we follow a simple process, but with agility and grace, as your colleagues will determine both the pace and how each step works. As we go through the steps, you may recognise that this is more like a choral round than a cycle. Learning continues, shaping works on new exercises, activities take place, and proving value happens at a fixed cadence. I'm going to take you through each step with a few thoughts and tips. Find one or two individuals, not everyone. You already have a full-time job and you can't take on too much. Neither can your colleagues or the business. My tip is to start with operations and customer support, as they often feel the impact of poor customer experience most keenly. In reality, we are always learning. We find out what's important to our colleagues and offer to share customer feedback that is relevant. Listening and aligning insight into their goals and priorities is what counts. In reality, we're also always learning, and when we have alignment, we start to also shape. Here we choose the feedback linked to a business outcome your colleagues already care about: disruption, revenue, cost, risk, retention. And we tell a story about your colleague, the customer, and business impact. Don't include the stuff about how you collected data, why it's statistically valid, a headline number and trend, and all that other great geek stuff, because they already have enough geek stuff of their own and are not altogether interested in how you do your job. Though, you must be prepared to answer questions. Focus on your colleague and ask them how they interpret quality feedback, the words, and let those words sink in. We're starting to show what's in it for me for your colleague, but it's better that they get there themselves. In other words, show, don't tell. Ask how the feedback and the customer behaviours that follow it impacts your colleague. They're going to answer in their own words, and that is fabulous for you. Chances are you won't have to ask the next obvious question: what can we do about it? Instead, it's much more likely your colleague will say they can do something and what they will do, or that they can't today. As the conversation branches, you will ask things like how you can help, if small steps are possible, whether other insights might be easier to use as a test case. And then action will take place. It might happen quickly, or it may take multiple rounds of conversations. You may have to start by influencing budgets, asking for support to demonstrate the impact of poor experience, or even leading some quick win activities. But you have already won. People are talking about you and with you. They are talking about customer experience and starting to think about how they can use your insights to improve their performance. We go on to prove value. Whenever a colleague agrees to initiate change, you must agree the benefits with them and how to talk about your contribution to the change. This is the hardest part, as your colleagues will deliver the value. So you have to show how you inspired them into action. And then you keep on going through the expand feedback loop. You introduce new insights to the same colleagues. You talk to more colleagues, bringing in other aspects of the customer journey or experience. Along the way, you will change how you report, showing the progression from data to business value. You will speak in the language of your colleagues and the language of the business. Instead of sending out reports, you'll be asked for your opinions, and rather than introducing exciting tools like North Stars and personas, you will introduce tools that make this process more effective, like North Stars and personas. Most of all, you will have changed your role in the organisation, becoming a key team member who is both respected and valued. Let's summarise. Reporting customer experience is not enough. Organisations have to see value from it, and that means helping colleagues take action. If you choose to reposition your role, it has high rewards and risks that you manage through the approach you take. I suggest starting by getting to know the people who design, deliver, and improve products, services, and touchpoints. Learn about them and ask how customer insights can help. Explore feedback and find customer issues that impact your colleagues. Build one or two strong allegiances and work towards action. Make yourself a valued part of your colleagues' team. Support your colleagues as they deliver change and business improvement, and don't forget to share the success. Then extend into other parts of the organisation and the customer journey. Repositioning like this takes time, though some of your colleagues might bite your hand off. The goalposts will change and the journey will be different in every organisation, but it is what very successful customer experience professionals have already done. So today, book those first conversations and get ready to inspire your colleagues into action. Thank you.